Hi, Mrs. Knipe. I understand you're the school social worker. What do school social workers do?
Well, school social workers do a lot of different things. One of the main things that I do is work with at-risk students. So that can be any student who's behind in school and at risk of not graduating. It can be students who are struggling with attendance and truancy issues. And then I also work with special education students going to IEP meetings, and I'm the homeless services liaison, so I work with some of our homeless families. And then I also manage our deferred expulsion program.
Recently, you and the school nurse attended a training. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Sure. A few weeks ago, we went to a training in Madison, and it was regarding sexually active teens and the law, and basically what the legal status is of what you can and can't do.
I think our audience needs some really clear information. A lot of them probably don't know the law. First, I understand two terms pop up in the law a lot. Can you tell me what sexual contact and sexual intercourse really mean?
Sure. So sexual contact is going to be basically any touching. It can be over the clothes or under the clothes, but any type of sexual touching with your hands. Whereas sexual intercourse is penetration. So genital penetration or with your mouth. So what a lot of people would consider either full-on intercourse or oral sex.
I understand there are laws with people who are 16 and 17 and then some for who are under 16. Let's start with people 15 and under. What does the law say about sexual contact and intercourse for them?
So that was something that was really interesting and kind of eye-opening from the training. So with students who are younger than 16, so 15 and younger, it's illegal for them to have sexual contact and sexual intercourse. So essentially, much more than kissing can get you into some pretty hot water if you're 15 or younger. And also for that age group, all staff members at the school are considered mandated reporters, and I can clarify that a little bit later.
Okay, so what about the 16 and 17-year-olds?
So that's a little bit different. 16 and 17-year-olds, it's still illegal to have sexual intercourse. So again, that penetration or using your mouth, but it's not illegal to have sexual contact, just the touching over and under clothes. Another big difference is that if you're 16 or 17, school staff are not considered mandated reporters for that age group. So again, anyone under the age of 18, it is illegal to have sexual intercourse. 16 and 17, it's not illegal to have that sexual contact and with your hands, and school staff are not mandated reporters for 16 and 17-year-olds.
So you said the teachers are mandators. What does that mean?
Good question. So a mandated reporter is anybody that works for the school district who, because they work for the school, by law, they have to report certain things. So if at any point a teacher or a principal or a school social worker becomes aware that a child is being abused or neglected, we have to report that to social services. We don't have a choice. We legally have to. And so when we're talking about sexually active teens, again, for anybody that's under the age of 16, if we find out that they're having sex or even just having that sexual contact, we have to call law enforcement, even if we don't necessarily want to, even if someone might not think it's that big of a deal. We could essentially lose our jobs if we didn't do that. So a mandated reporter is someone that is required by law to contact either law enforcement or social services.
If a student has questions or needs help, who could they go to?
So there are a lot of different people at this school that you can talk to. I think a lot of students right away think of counselors, which are a great resource, Mrs. Liedholm and Mr. Erickson. I'm also available. We have a school nurse that's available. And I know that sometimes talking about some of the mandated reporter stuff makes it seem kind of scary to talk to somebody, but we would still definitely encourage anybody that has any questions about this, just wants some clarification, or maybe someone who's been through something that maybe wasn't necessarily their fault, that they didn't want to happen and they're scared and they don't know what to do, definitely come talk to one of us. And I want to point out that the difference with the school nurse is that she is the only staff member within the school district that's not necessarily a mandated reporter. So if there's a student under the age of 16 that's having any type of sexual contact or sexual intercourse, or a 16 and 17-year-old that are having sexual intercourse, they can talk to the school nurse, and the nurse doesn't necessarily have to report that because she's a healthcare provider. She would just help them to make sure that they're making the right decisions, that they're being safe in whatever they're doing.
Is there anything else that GM97 people should know?
I think it's important for students to know that staff really care about them. And again, when we talk about mandated reporting, I think students sometimes feel like, well, that means that you're just going to tell on me. And that's really not what it's all about. We want to make sure that students are safe, but it's not all just about tattling on them to social service or law enforcement. We really want to do whatever is in our power to be able to help students. And I also want students to keep in mind, because it's kind of scary when we start talking about the law and things being illegal, so I want students to understand that if something has happened to them that was not their choice, that they didn't want to have happen to them, but someone forced them into something, whether it was, maybe they were at a party, they weren't fully with it, maybe they had been drinking, whatever the case might be, if anything happened to them that wasn't voluntary, that's not their fault, and they need to talk to somebody about that so we can help them through it. And when it's not voluntary, they're not going to be getting in trouble with the police for that. So I just want to make sure that our students understand that.
Thank you, Mrs. Knight.